Okay, so Zelensky issued a death threat, a veiled one, to Viktor Orban. And I haven't seen him getting banned off social media for, terms of service violations. But I need to explain to people what exactly is happening, right? Because I know I have a lot of subscribers that are from Europe, and the European politics are a little bit interesting. Back in the day, Hungary used to be big and strong, and their eyes were flaming gold. They were a Catholic power in Eastern Europe. They oppressed my people by taking Transylvania from us. When Vlad the Impaler insulted the Turks and almost killed their sultan, he went to Hungary for help. And Hungary kidnapped him, humiliated him. And so you can understand that they caused a little bit of historical grievance. Historical grievance that now has been mostly resolved. But what I'm trying to say is that back in the day, they were top dog, and they were kind of setting the rules around here. After World War II, well, they're a landlocked nation. They're not big anymore. Their eyes are not flaming gold. And the biggest problem they have is that they are not energy independent. They only produce 10 to 20% of the gas required for their economy. And Eastern Europe is pretty fucking cold. So, people can legitimately freeze to death if they end up without gas during the winter. Now, another thing you need to understand about Europe is that it runs on spite and reality. It never runs on morality. Okay? Eastern European especially is not governed by moral ideologues. We generally don't fucking care if the leader is corrupt. The only thing we care is if the leader is capable. Okay? And so Eastern Europeans are very pragmatic individuals. They don't care about, is the leader a good person? Are we doing the right thing? No, we care about, is the thing being done efficiently, and what do we need to do right now in order to survive, okay? So with that in mind, you need to understand Hungary's position. Being a landlocked nation means they can't diversify their energy sector as easily as other countries. They cannot simply just import and buy, let's say, oil from the Americas. I mean, they can, but it's expensive. And a lot of their energy comes from the Russians. Because during the Soviet Union, they built a lot of pipelines and a lot of infrastructure that helps them get Russian gas. And so they're dependent on that gas, okay, physically. This is why when people say that Viktor Orban is the man of the Russians, it's a little bit hilarious because, even if he wasn't in power, even if he was to step down, the next guy would have the exact same policies. Because that's the reality on the ground, It's what can you afford to do? The Russians, they planned for this. This is why they built the infrastructure, in order to control Hungary and to place them exactly in this position. During the Cold War, they literally created the dependency so that in the future, if there is a conflict, well, Hungary is forced to actually be reliant on the Russians. The Germans the same, except the Americans blew their pipelines. Okay? Now, before the conflict with Ukraine, you also have the conflict between Eastern Europe and the European Union. Most nations, like Romania, for instance, we kind of said what the EU says, but we did what we want to do. So it's like LGBT rights. Oh yeah, we're really big on LGBT rights. In reality, we didn't give a shit. You need to become green and destroy your nuclear power. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. We didn't do it, right? So that was Romania's policy. Just say what they want us to say and do what we want to do. Hungary was different. Hungary basically didn't want any immigrants. Hungary was talking big on sovereignty and shit. And so they upset the people at Brussels. And now the people at Brussels, they have two grievances. Number one, the previous grievance and the fact that they want the European Union to become a super state. And so they do not want member states to have sovereignty. And they don't like this talking that Orban is doing. But secondly, they are also invested in Russia not winning. And so Viktor Orban recently tried to block another round of help from the European Union to Ukraine and is also upset about the energy pipelines that the Ukrainians are shutting down. Okay, so like as you can see here, Orban is doing a big talk about it, and he is threatening the Ukrainians that if they don't stop fucking with the gas pipeline, they will continue to block the aid. Now, you need to understand what that aid is, and what exactly did Donald Trump do since he took office. During the Joe Biden era, a lot of aid that went to Ukraine from the Americans was simply that, right? Like they would send money right to Ukraine. American NGOs and grifters and European NGOs as well, and Ukrainian NGOs would obviously do a little bit of grift. And maybe like some percentage of that money would actually end up on the front lines. Donald Trump changed that. Donald Trump basically said the Europeans are going to raise money and they're going to send them to the Americans, and the Americans will sell munitions and armaments to Ukraine. And so what's happening now is that Viktor Orban wants to block the European money from going into the US. And so the US would not be able to sell weapons to the Ukraine, which puts Ukraine into an existential risk. Why does the European Union want to help Ukrainians? Well, they want to help Ukrainians because Russians are not serious people. Throughout their entire history, they have constantly violated agreements. And so, even in the last decade, you see the Russians invading Crimea, and they're basically saying, okay, well, we're done. We took Crimea, we're done. Okay, they're done. Then they're invading the Donbass era, and after they invade the Donbass era, it's like, okay, we're done. No, that's it. Harasho, we're done. And then they're invading Kiev. And at that point, like, the Europeans are like, okay, you're not serious people, you're a bunch of clowns. And they don't trust them, and the idea, it's like, well, yeah, but like Ukrainians are oppressing Russian minorities. It's like, great. Like, what happens if the Russians decide that Polish people are oppressing Russian minorities, or Romanians are oppressing Russian minorities, right? Like, the argument that you're oppressing our minorities has been the argument that started pretty much every single war in Europe for the last 300 years. And so the Europeans, they do not believe the Russians at this point. Like, even if the Russians were sincere, nobody believes them. They're not serious people. And so this is why the European Union is constantly pumping money into Ukraine. Because, like, they don't want the Russians to advance. Meanwhile, the Americans enjoy the conflict because, number one, they're selling weapons, right? So it's a good arms deal for them. Number two, they get to play around in Venezuela. They get to play around in Iran. They get to play around in Syria, right? Like, they get to play around the world because the Russians are busy fighting in Ukraine. Now, this is something that a lot of people haven't discussed, and it's very interesting, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to be the conversation in the next 10 years. What happens when the war is over? When the war is over, chances are Ukraine becomes a regional power. You would have a nation that's pretty big with the war expertise that no one else in Europe has. Like, these would be war-hardened people that fought against the Russians for the last couple of years or so. And they would absolutely be able to bully Hungary. And not just Hungary, they will be able to bully a lot of people. Obviously, not just send, like, soldiers and invade others, but, no, like, for example, they can cut the pipeline and basically say, and what are you going to do about it? Are you going to invade them? Absolutely not. Like, no one wants to invade. Like, they've just fucked the Russians, right? And so, Zelensky is basically bullying Orban because he can. Because he actually understands the geopolitical situation in the European Union. He knows no one is going to help him. He is aware that even the Americans, like, they are interested in the status quo continuing, that the Europeans still buy weapons and give them to Ukraine. No one is going to say shit to him. So, like, when Zelensky says that we will give Viktor Orban's address to the armed forces, they're not going to do that. But what they're basically saying, it's like, look, we're actually more powerful than you. Now, as I mentioned, European politics is not about morality. It's not about what's right. It's literally about logistics, who has the resources and who can do what. And so when Orban says we will break the Ukrainian oil blockade by force, Ukraine is basically saying, well, can you do that? And can you actually guarantee your own security? And so, like, this is the conversation that's happening. Obviously, the conversations are also for the public. Okay, like behind closed doors, deals are being made, people are having actual conversations, but you gotta understand, elections are coming in Hungary. So, like, the guy wants to show that he is strong, and Zelensky, who is in a war, cannot show weakness either. So it's like, okay, what are you going to do about it? And it's actually influencing Viktor Orban's public opinion, right? Because if he just takes it, then he is weak. And in Eastern Europe, as I mentioned before, it doesn't matter if the guy is corrupt. It doesn't matter if the guy went on Epstein's Island. None of that matters. What matters is he competent? And can he display dignitas? Can he display strength? And if you let a clown like Zelensky talk to you like that, you're going to lose in the polls, right? Like, seriously, in Eastern Europe, a lot of people from the Anglosphere do not understand or do not want to believe me, or they think I'm bullshitting. But, like, no. Okay, we had the president Basescu that literally smacked a child. He fucking smacked the child on live television because the child reached for his microphone. And it's like literally, right? Like, in front of everyone. Did hate speech also to a journalist. Fucked his mistress in the Romanian equivalent of the Oval Office on the table. And people would still vote for him. Why? Because he fixed the economy. That's literally what matters, you know? Like, can you fix the economy? Yes. Have you did bad things? I don't care. I don't want to hear about them. Just fix the economy. And this is the mentality in almost every single Eastern European state. They just don't care about morale or anything like that, okay? It's like... And so, when you have, like, Viktor Orban issuing a challenge to another Eastern European leader that's in a war, well, he's going to talk back. And the question is Orban going to take it? We'll see. I think he will take it because he doesn't have a choice. And if he takes it, he's going to go down in the polls. I don't think the Ukrainians are actually going to assassinate a member of a European state, even if it's someone that they disagree with, especially because after the war, they still want good relationships, right? Because, like, those gas pipes, through which territory they go? Oh, they go through Ukraine. Do you think they don't want to make money? Of course they want to make money. And so... they don't want permanent bad relationships. But right now, they understand. And everyone knows, right? Like, behind closed doors, all the politicians know. It's like, okay, Hungary needs gas. They need to take them from the Russians. They have no other alternative right now. They will diversify, and I'm pretty sure even the Hungarians are aware of this, and they will diversify. But not anytime soon. And it's extremely costly to build new infrastructure and stuff, and they are doing it. But for the time being, the Hungarians are definitely going to be with the Russians. But still, to say that Orban is Putin's man is incorrect. He is Chairman Xi's man. Like, Hungary is actually more indebted to the Chinese. Because, again, they don't say this on television, but those that are in the know, during the Soviet era, there was a massive railway that was built. And most of that railway, like, at some point, goes through a juncture. And the juncture is literally Hungary. And so, like, if Orban was to want to fuck with the EU, they could literally just either tariff heavily all of the Chinese imports that go through that railway, or he could just shut it down. So, like, there are powers, there are negotiations happening behind closed doors, as I mentioned, right? But all of this is circus for the public, I think. Like, all of this is basically to influence the election polling with the one thing that works in Europe, which is, in Eastern Europe, which is to not show weakness, right? Anyway, let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.